Hi, I'm Amanda Webb, and welcome to Her Time, Her Place. This is a podcast about women stepping into their moment, owning their place, and sharing what it really took to get there. In each episode, I'll sit down with women from all walks of life to explore the turning points, the moments of doubt, the decisions that changed everything, the people who showed up, and the lessons they've carried forward. Because so many of us have been told, or have quietly told ourselves, that it's not the time. It's not the place, not yet. This podcast is all about questioning that, choosing it anyway, and discovering what's possible when we do. Let's go. Hi, I'm Amanda Webb, and welcome to Her Time, Her Place. Today, I'm joined by Tracey Henderson, an executive coach and consultant and an outplacement and career transition expert. Welcome, Tracey.
Hi, Amanda. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you here. Trace, I was thinking that we have known each other for over 25 years. That's some time.
I know, especially as a career friendship as well.
Yeah, it really is. And in that time, we've had many conversations. We've worked with each other in a couple of different places and times. And we've also had lunches and dinners and walks and chats, and even done some travels together as well. So I know bits about your career and your life from the last 25 years. But today, our listeners are the lucky ones because they get the joy and pleasure of hearing more about Tracey Henderson.
Well, probably as a little disclaimer, the listeners need to know that it's a nearly 50-year career. So I'm absolutely going to kind of do a bit of an abridged version. I noticed I was listening to Lou, great interview, Lou last week. It was really similar, where I came out of school not knowing what I was going to do and ended up in an administrative role using a, Sylvester switchboard, passing on phone calls to Mr. Scott and Mr. Ayres and Mr. O'Brien and making coffee and tea and doing the mail and earning about $8 a week or $12 a week or something. From there, I was largely in administrative roles for about 7 years, so secretarial, EA, with increasing responsibility. Then I went off to Perth and I was promoted from secretary to claims supervisor, so underqualified for that role. But I worked really hard. So everybody, the managers, they thought I was terrific. I was not terrific. I was working really, really hard, but I was not talented. And I didn't have any support. And that was really important, to recognize something straight up, that was something, a very big lesson for me. They would have kept me on and I would have had probably a bit of a breakdown, but I started traveling. So I went off to work in the Caribbean and that was pretty well. My job in the Caribbean was to live in Puerto Rico and each weekend on a Friday, go and fly into one of the Caribbean islands with a wad of money and pay people and then spend the weekend to help them spend it. That was such a great holiday job.
Yeah.
Then off to the UK, London, as all Australians did at that time. And that was another really fundamental career change for me. I worked in accounts receivable and my job was to collect outstanding debt and I was really good at it. And I was good at it because I wasn't English and it wasn't fair that they didn't pay bills. So I
can so imagine.
What do you mean you're not going to pay us? If you keep chasing us for money, we're not going to give you any more work. Why would we want any more work if you're not going to pay us? It was like that real attitude. Anyway, got back to one of the things they wrote on my reference, a written reference, was nothing about my account skills and everything about my influencing skills, which I did not recognize. Anyway, I came back to Australia, moved into sales, various sales roles. I ended up at WD-40, which is a brilliant company to work with. Lots of Australian travel, international travel. I then moved into recruitment and worked in external recruitment where I was recruiting in a technical environment. Then what external recruiters used to call failed recruiters came in-house and worked at AMP, and that was the beginning of my corporate career proper. Moved into retention, and retention in that stage was initially high potentials and people who wanted to move within the organisation that AMP wanted to keep. But then AMP started beginning of some of its troubles, and it was about holding on to people as they were doing significant redundancies. I love that job. Absolutely. First time I absolutely loved and saw it was vocational for me. That's also, Amanda, when I met you.
Yeah. But what do you reckon you loved about that role? Like, it was the first time you really loved that role. What was it that you loved about this role?
There were a few things. I think from a professional point of view, I was really, really good at it. I was really good. And there were so many things that fit into it, but I was so good at identifying what people wanted in terms of the impacted employees, what they wanted, really, really clear on what the organisation needed. I'd built a great network internally so that at that stage, they were HR managers, people in performance now, but the HR teams, and there were many, many HR leaders in the company, would listen to me if I'd pass over and make recommendations. Very well supported by my leader. AMP at that stage invested so heavily in, as you know, in talent and in training and assessment. Like, it was a good time to be in HR, wasn't it?
It really was. Yeah.
Really.
The glory days.
They were the glory days. Oh my God,
They
keep
were.
going back. But anyway,
They were.
and I think from a personal point of view, as it always has been, I'm definitely an individual contributor. I'm not a team player and I am a terrible people manager. And I know this, but I love working alongside people, but to have my
Yeah.
own thing. And I
Yeah.
definitely had that and I was recognized for it. So yeah,
Mm.
but it did lead a little bit to burnout. I overinvested. I hadn't learned boundaries and separating. So I ended up moving on to compliance projects for my sins and then ultimately changed. Then my own role was made redundant. Another organisation we don't need to spend too much time on. Then I got kicked up in career transition. I got to work with Audrey Page. And that was when I hit that was like peak
Yeah.
experience. And then that's just flowed on apart from a sojourn, as you know, with you, of course,
Yep.
Amanda, and a couple of little side gigs. But then I came back into consulting since 2014.
Yep.
And, that's like, what, 16 years, 15 years, 16 years. It doesn't feel like it. It so doesn't. It feels like I've only been doing it for a few years.
Yeah. Really?
It does.
Mm.
Such a fresh career. I mean, like everything, it's not
Yeah.
always great, but I don't feel like I've been doing it that long. I suppose lots of people say that about their careers, but I really don't feel like I've been doing it that long.
Your background is interesting in when I think about some of the more challenging things that you've done, like you've chosen to do with complaints or customers that won't be paying back their money. And there is this bravery around Trace. Like I've been thinking about different words that I would describe people with. So on my list for you, I had the words curious. I think you always want to know situations. So for me, it's no surprise that career outplacement world and being an executive in that space makes sense because you are curious and you always want to find out what's the person, what's their skills, their motivators, what is the organization, and you do such great research. And I think that's why you were super successful in that role at AMP as well. And also, you didn't need anyone to clip your wings. Like, this is my space. I know what I'm doing here. Get out of the way, folks. That is so you. One of your other strengths is you have really good questions of people. You're always wanting to know more. So it's not just a curiosity. And you are brave enough to ask questions that people are thinking, but don't ask them. And sometimes I've sat around when you've asked a question of someone, I'm like, I cannot believe she has asked that question, but I'm dying to hear the answer. Like, I really want to know that. So I think your questioning skills are there and there's this bravery as well, but you're also a really good listener. You hear things and you remember them as well. So I've also written down here that you've got this vibrancy and paciness to how you do things. It's like, okay, people, chop, chop, let's get going with this stuff. We haven't got time to dilly-dally. Let's get on with it, including your career and the straight shooter thing as well. Because I know in your uh, current role that you said feels like, you haven't been doing it for 16 years, but you really have. You're working with so many different individuals on their careers. Sometimes aspirations don't align with competence or reality, do they?
Do you know? No, they really don't. But generally, it's the opposite. I would say mostly, Amanda. By the way, can I just say you're the wind beneath my wings there? Thank you. Yes, there are. I would say it's more the opposite, is where I cannot, it's not gender. It's doesn't matter. I've worked with analysts. I've worked into C-suite, and I am really surprised at how people's confidence could be so impacted through job loss. And it can come back pretty quickly with the right, and I'd say right coaching, of course, but obviously with right support, like family, partners in particular, are really fundamental. But yes, there is the case that sometimes, if you don't mind, really classic, stick with me forever, was this fellow who was about 55. He said to me, "I'm the wrong gender to get this job." And I just thought, don't ever say that out loud again. But when people do, I, of course, wouldn't say, "Are you serious? No way," but I'll say, "That's really interesting," but obviously coach, because it's got to be professional and they're still vulnerable. But it does require some coaching to sometimes to help people have a little self-awareness. But it generally is more the other way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Most people, that lack of confidence and having something like a job loss, it's one of the big five challenges and situations in our life. Like losing our job is a big deal. And too often, many of us have our sense of self wrapped in with the job or the title or whatever that is that we have. So it is a big sense of loss and that confidence that comes with that. So interesting that you have found your sweet spot for your career to be working individually with those people. Do you feel like that is the role? Like, is the role first and foremost like reestablishing their confidence and letting them find that again?
I would say my philosophy, if the person is up for it, is I'm there to help them rebuild agency. And whatever that it looks like, because you absolutely nailed it, I think. If I was going to say that there was one thing I could really get people to get over is professional identity. And so if their professional identity takes a hit, like I'm going to just say a title. If any of my clients are listening to this, not a reflection of you, but like, I am a fund manager. No, like, it's that sort of thing where I am. And if I'm not doing this, then who am I? And that equates to everything. Or I'm the breadwinner, or I'm you know, so that makes it extra, extra hard for that person. I mean, of course, I'm not a psychologist, and I don't want to pretend that I've got the therapeutic skills to help people through that part specifically, but hopefully build awareness.
I think that's really interesting. And the one-on-one nature of your work.
Mhm,
So you work with many different people at a stage of their life, not just of their
mhm.
career, but of their life when they're facing into that. The joy that that brings to you working so closely with individuals. Tell us about that.
Mostly joys, yes.
Yeah.
Um, so I love it. I shouldn't say I love it because it probably does sound hyperbolic, but it's genuinely something that
Mm,
turns me on. People generally have a nadir when they're going through job
mm,
loss. They hit a nadir. And for me, that's like, because after nadir, it's slow to get there and it's really quick out of it.
mm,
And that nadir is usually something comes through. And I'm not saying about the universe, I'm not really into woo in that sort of way. But it's when they've hit their worst, they can really start seeing things. And I don't want people to feel their worst to feel better. But that point, and I just think, oh my gosh, things are going to be great. Things are going to be great. I would never speak to somebody about generally as they're going through that, but it's a really common thing. When people come to their own, a really common thing is I'm a people pleaser, and they realize that that's holding them back. And going through this process, something so much more important than trying to protect other people's feelings first before they can get an objective through, they don't have time for that. And so witnessing people kind of get through that, that makes me feel really good. People just really connecting with themselves and owning what they're good at and not feeling they need to be humble, which I always think that humility is just as bad as, you know, peacocking. They're like both very not healthy ego attention. So like owning your competencies and owning what you're good at, working with people who always talk about their people skills. And I look, honestly, my people skills are my profession, so I can own people skills. But people so often go into collaboration and communication and relationship management, stakeholder management, completely overlook the things they do are so fundamental and core. And they forget all of these things that actually have you. And then when they get it and start talking about those things, I love it.
Well, obviously, because you feel like 16 years has gone really quickly and that here you are doing this. And you did say at the start that you've been working for about 50 years. So people are doing the maths on the, you know that from the
Yeah.
get-go, right? So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this 50-year career story. For you, when you think through that, and you're at this stage now where you are still loving what you do, but when you look back, were there any times that you go, oh my God, like this was tough? Or, yeah, did you have some of those challenges along the way?
Oh my God. I'll tell you the first one that comes to me, and it was before I even started work, is I failed my HSC. Now, in 2026, we don't talk about failing, but I so failed. And I couldn't believe I failed. And of course I was going to fail. It didn't do any work, but I just thought it would all work out okay. And I'm sure there's parents out there that have seen this before, but I was one of those kids. And then I got a job. I just thought, I cannot sit with this. Like, the whole world is moving on. All my friends are doing so much better than me. The whole world's doing better than me. And there's Tracey Ryan. I was Tracey Ryan then. So anyway, I got my job in the city, switchboard. Then I was doing TAFE 4 nights a week to redo my HS. And I did really well. And I worked really hard. And here's me, first year of job. We all remember how hard it is your first year of work, trying to get used to all of that. And I look back and then I thought, And I also realized then, like, I have to make it happen. Unfortunately, that hasn't always stayed with me, but it is a universal truth. You've got to create your own luck. That was really hard. I've worked with some terrible people, Amanda. I've been in unethical situations where I've been, and like you, fundamental integrity is so important to both of us, and I've really been tested and challenged. I've worked with things that I found difficult to come out from under, things where I've had to stay quiet. So ashamed even now, some of the things. I think I would say my biggest challenges have really come from myself and my own limitations. Like, people gave me opportunities all the time and I grabbed those opportunities, but I didn't always take advantage of those opportunities. You can only go so far with other people's help. I really wish I had someone like me when I was about 30, but I probably wouldn't have listened. But I really did need that. I was just too independent. So I'd say more it was myself. There were things I should have walked away and I just wasn't professionally mature enough to know when those times were, or maybe I was just too, in the boiling water.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. Because we all have different stages and challenges, right? Like, no career is without its high highs and its low lows and stuff in between. You made a comment then about people would always come to you with opportunities and you didn't think you made enough of them sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the front end of that. So what do you reckon about you made people come to you with opportunities?
Wow.
Yeah. That's a good question, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. You'd be really good at this. Wait. Yeah. So I think I don't know the answer to that. I think probably I was one of those people that worked really hard, like, not consistently. I'm either a cheater or a sloth, but, worked really hard, really highly responsible. So if anybody asked me to do something and I said I was going to do it, I would, do it to the nth. So I think that probably, if you want something done, as someone said recently, ask a busy person. But I think also I'm pretty good with people, and I think people probably find me approachable to bring up ideas with. Maybe I can bring in a different perspective sometimes, but I don't know about anything particularly special. I think I've got a package.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on this, which is why I asked the questions. I feel like those things are definitely things that people would see in you. So why I would think, and I have gone to you and said, hey, come and work with me.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that the things like you being hardworking, good work ethic, pacey, when you say yes, so the responsibility thing, totally I get all of that. I also think that because you are quite extroverted in what people see of you, like we get this consistent view of Tracey who's brave and courageous and says what she
Yeah.
thinks in a respectful way. I think you build trust quickly.
Mm, mm, I would say, actually, thank you for that acknowledgement. I think I do build trust. I think, as you said earlier, I'm direct and candid, but I'm also really respectful, I think, generally. When I ask a question, people know that thing about curiosity versus being a sticky beak. They're two different things. Yeah, I think there is a lot of trust there. And obviously that really helps with the profession I do. But yeah, that's a really, really good observation. Actually, there's one other, I'm really good at joining dots. So around people. So I am definitely more a people, and I really am genuinely, when people talk about people, I really am. So things around processes, operations, strategy in a sort of organizational commercial. No, I actually am not interested in it. So that's probably why I'm not very good in it. But people, I'm very interested in.
Yes, is definitely a gift, thus you still doing what you're doing today. So in your 50 plus years of career, how many times have I said that now? I
You
will stop.
just keep saying it, Amanda, because I'm waiting for a letter from the king.
You'll be here for that, I can tell. I definitely believe that you'll be around for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
In that time, who have been the people that have supported you in your career journey and brought you to where you are today?
I feel like I definitely need to bring up my lover boy here, Alan. I was married to Alan. Alan was my husband, I should say. There's no graceful. My husband passed away a few years ago. Up until Alan and I got together, I think I was all over the shop. I did my job and I went to work, but I just was not settled. And then it was just like he settled me. And I felt he just gave me a new level of, relationships can do that to you. Good relationships, they bring out the best in you, and he definitely did. And I think definitely confidence at work. And I don't really know how I can expand on that. Didn't know me before Al, but there's pre-Al and post-Al.
I think that's interesting but you didn't meet Al because you were a bit more mature when you
Yeah, I
met
was
Al, right?
37. I met him when I was 37. I would describe myself as a bit wild, responsible, but I was wild and sometimes undisciplined, definitely undisciplined. Greg Smith, and now if you've worked in career transition, Greg Smith has helped me significantly twice. Greg Smith has helped a lot of people in career transition. He's really open to sharing his network and no explanations, no song and dance, just contact these people, tell them I've told you. And he's also been quite a good mentor, especially in the work. Of course, Amanda, you had a significant impact in many ways, but when we worked together, obviously the opportunities you gave me and the way I learnt from you, never, ever drop the ball on professional development. Doesn't matter how settled you are. Do not ever drop the ball on professional development. That's not wisdom. That's just common sense. And also I think you smoothed out just because we worked together, and you're also quite direct, smoothed out a few of my personality traits, communication traits.
We probably both did that for each other. Yeah.
Thank you. And Cloris Latham, I think she was a woman I worked with, a very independent woman, but she liked her processes and she helped me become a bit more disciplined in how I approached work. Organisations are fantastic for building in discipline and structure. So she was genuinely a wise woman, not direct, but she always knew what she wanted. She walked around with a handbag. If you had that handbag, you knew what was going on. There's three. I think working at Audrey Page, it was a big shift moving out of corporate into a consultancy. And I was surrounded by these awesome people that all wanted to do this. And I couldn't believe that the thing about being with nice people and transparent people and sincere, all of them All of them just wanting the best, just wanting the best. And when they come into your offices, because we had offices, and they come into your office and they just really just want to have a chat. There was no agenda. It was lovely.
Yeah, that was a pretty special team at that time, as wasn't it? Some
Yeah,
amazing people
it
that
was.
you worked with then. Yeah.
It was. I bang on about them a lot, but yes, along the way, there were good people and bad people that influenced my life positively. And that's what I chose to take from it. But I'm not one of those people that necessarily take lessons because people say X and Y. I have to sort of do it myself. Like, yeah, I have to immerse myself in something. So someone can say something to me like, blah, blah, blah. And I'll have to process it.
I think that's true for you. You have to go away, take it, and think, does this fit me? Does
Yeah,
this fit like,
exactly.
yeah, does this fit me? Yeah, maybe not. And I think that is a sign of your true independence. Like,
Yeah.
you're
Well,
not an easy sell either.
no. Do you know what, Amanda, actually, you and I have got some similarities and different. The one thing I would say about you is you can get it straight away. If someone's saying I don't see you, I see you pause respectfully, but I think that your knowledge, self-knowledge is that you pick it up straight away. Mm.
Probably not all the time. I probably, yeah, try and lean into that. Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a reverse question for you because I ask everyone about who are the people that have influenced your career and life. But because you have been working in outplacement and career transition,
Mm.
and you've not been prepared for this question, so anyone that's
Yeah.
listening, this could go anywhere. But I'm thinking, I wonder, are there people that have come back to you and said, hey, Trace, you've made a difference in my life and career because of the role you've had?
I'm going to say with zero humility all the time. All the time. And I have to say, I'm not a fit with everybody. Not everybody likes working with me, and not because they dislike me, but my style isn't right for them. That's okay. I can refer them on to somebody else. But it's lovely to get feedback when a program's finished or when someone's got a role or however it unfolds. But I hear from people often, and I'm really not exaggerating it. I hear from people often, months and years after I worked with them. And referrals, like people referring me on to other people in their network. Or
Well, I know I've done that. I've referred hard cases. The hard cases I send your way, don't I? If a friend of mine needs something or whatever, the hard cases I go,
let's not make them too tough just in
no.
case they're
I'm just
listening.
thinking of one recent experience. They're going to laugh when they hear this. But some of the people that have a trickier situation and
Mm.
probably need someone to be quite robust with them that has, 50 years of lived and life and career experience to help them through that.
Well,
Yeah, of course, given you a couple of easier ones as well. But I think whenever there's a person that's like, oh, I'm really struggling with this and I've taken the organization's outplace program and I haven't found a solution, I think I need to get a coach. I'm like, I know the person. You
yeah.
have to meet with Trace. So I think there is something in that. So I think there's a niche market, and it doesn't surprise me that this most recent 16 years for you doesn't feel like that because you're doing work that so aligns with your skills and your strengths and your passions, but also that uh, you're doing great work because you're getting
Mm.
that reinforcement. And not saying that, as you said, it's not an ego thing. Your ego doesn't need that, but it's really great to get that because that sense of achievement and accomplishment, all of us need that as a part of our well-being as well. So I think that's very cool. So Trace, this journey you've been on sounds pretty interesting, and there's been a bit of heartbreak and stuff in there as well, which so no person's life is an easy journey. Is there a piece of wisdom that you would share?
Okay. I truly believe that if you know what you want, actually, it's not I truly believe, I know. If you know what you want, you will get it. But by knowing what you want, I don't mean like, I want to get this job at XYZ company. That's not knowing what you want. That's like a whim. Knowing what you want is, I want to work with this organization. Why? I want to do this kind of work. Why? I want to earn this kind of money. Why? I want this kind of team. Why? I want this kind of leader. Why? And I don't mean in the Simon Sinek way. I mean in the way, that you really aren't just reacting to the market and reacting to set of environments. You're actually a force for yourself. And to do that, you've got to do the work. And by the work, I would say it's not about, I'll try. And trying is really important for lots of things, but in career, you've got to go for it. So by going for it, it's commitment. And it's not a fierceness, it's commitment. And you've got to put in the work. And that work only needs to be about 15 hours a week. But it's 15 hours a week of productivity. It's not 15 hours a week and having a cuppa or doing something silly on the computer in there. It's like 15 hours a week that you feel satisfied you've done a good job. The other part is coupled with that. So you've really got to obviously need you've got to be match fit for that because a lot's asked of you because it's just rejectionville, a lot of it. And that's the hard part. Nothing's fun, to be honest, about job search, meeting with me. But there's nothing fun about job search. That doesn't mean it's horrible, but it's not like you know what you're doing. So you need to take care of the rest of your life so that you do really well in job search. So the rest of your life is have activities. Do things that are going to give you a sense of achievement. It could be exercise, it could be volunteering, it could be painting, learning a language, whatever. But doing something that makes you feel good is going to help you better in job search. I would say that applies to career as well. Not making your work your raison d'etre is work fits into part of your life. You've got to get your achievement from other things. And the other thing that actually finally is really important is process. So don't just sort of do things without doing some sort of tracking and some sort of monitoring so that you're actually got a bit of a system in place. Now, I'm not a process queen, but you need to have some processes around it. Now, I don't know is that in line with what you're asking?
It's great. I think that's great wisdom, especially for the current market where there are more and more people that are finding themselves thinking about jobs, restructures in organizations and downsizing happening. Some organizations looking at where does AI sit in and what does that mean in terms of headcount. So I think for those who are currently in job search or that might be a pending situation, that's great advice that know what you want, getting that clarity on that it's a job in itself. That 15 hours, I think that's really nice to tell people what that looks like. I think absolutely. It's 2.5, 3 days a week of your week is job search. That's the job. It's not just having cups of tea. Networking is also a part of it and having some of those other achievements for sure. So I think that's great advice and having a process around tracking all of that and managing your brown sounds good as well.
Right.
I've got a final question for you, which is tell us a bit about what does Tracey Henderson's lifestyle look like now? Like I get a sense it's a little bit different because of where you're at. So what does life look like for you now? Where are you at?
Have really got a fantastic life. I've really got a life I didn't even realize I was creating. So I'm a consultant. So I say this and I'm sure a few people appreciate this. I mean, I work about 4 to 4.5 days a week and get paid for about 3.5. You would never allow that, Amanda, but it happens in my life. But also I swim. I'm in part of the community. I've got book clubs. I walk. I exercise. I just finished the Larapinta Trail. Amazing. I travel. I've got great relationships, great friends. And most important, which I never realized how much I've got lots of space and I love space. So I moved to Kiama during COVID. So I'm an inner city girl and city chick, and I moved to the regions and I really like it. I love it's full of, refugees from Sydney and Canberra but it's gentle. It's gentle and I value it. So I feel really like I'm taking great care of myself. Yeah, I'm very happy with my life.
It does feel like a created lifestyle. Like I know you said
Yeah.
you didn't set out to do that, but it's so lovely to see your lifestyle. Like you still love work and you're still engaged with the work you do and you're giving so much to others, but that you have that lifestyle. Like I've also got on my list, you're active outdoor girl, that you've got the beach and you love a swim and you go hiking and you like healthy food and you're in the community, all of that. And that it's a part-time gig that you're doing so that you've got time for the other things that are important to you at this time and place for you.
Yeah, I would say absolutely it's my time, my place. And this year I'm really aware of it. I've probably had it for a couple of years, but this year I'm really aware of it. And I've had other moments, of course, but right now I'm really feeling it in a very contented way.
Well, congratulations and well done to you on getting to a stage where you feel like you've got that nice balance, because that's probably an aspiration of many of us. And I'm sure that a lot of our listeners will be hearing that and going, yes, when I get to that stage of my career, that's what I want, something that's balanced where I feel engaged, joyous, motivated, but they've got the space. So Tracey Henderson, a very big thank you from me to you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It's been really lovely.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful conversation. Folks, as you know, I drop an episode every Friday. So next Friday, we'll be back with another episode of Her Time, Her Place with another fabulous woman like Tracey. But for today, thanks and goodbye.